You're just perp back with another video, and I just got done checking out the first episode of season 10 of Shameless. And man, before I get into this review, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button if you're new. Got a bunch of content coming, bunch of content on my channel now. Also follow me on Twitter at perpminded420. So Shameless is one of my favorite shows that is on television, and for it to hit its 10th season is a milestone. And man, I'm really curious to see how this whole season is going to play out. This first episode, they touched on a lot of interesting things, compared to last season I thought was phenomenal. Emmy Rossum gave a wonderful performance as Fiona, and don't think she's ever going to come back. I think they might if final season gets announced or something like that in the future. I think that's still on the table. But with all that being said, let's get into this review. So I'm just going to kind of jump around here and just talk about certain characters that I'm interested in this season. Let's start off with Debbie. Now, Debbie, when this episode starts off, you see that she's kind of taking that Fiona role, and she's managing the money that Fiona gave them last season, but she's kind of hiding stuff from the family. She's got this storage area, whatever, where she got all this fancy stuff, which, she even makes mention like she deserves to, live a little. But I wonder how that's going to play out going throughout this season. For her to take Fiona's role, that's a pretty big role to, pretty big shoes to fill, I should say. So I'm really interested to see what they do with Debbie's character. Going over to Liam now. Liam is kind of trying to find himself, his heritage. He's like walking around with a dashiki, and some people are giving him the side eye because that's not really how you're supposed to go about that. And it's going to be interesting to see Liam grow as a character in this, because he's always been kind of that character that's been off to the side, but now that Fiona has left the show, you see more characters like Liam and other characters start to get more shine. You even see, I forgot to mention with Debbie's character, we see a little Franny, and I think young Franny, the little Franny, is going to be pretty much the new Liam, which is, I'm liking how they're kind of rotating roles to keep it fresh and keep it new. And we have another aspect in this episode where we see Carl. This is where I'm curious about what they're going to do with Carl's character, because they didn't really do much with his character, I would say, like last season, even though we saw a lot more emotion and what was really bothering him. I hope we kind of get more of his character and his and what he wants out of life in this season. I hope they flesh out his character even more. Let's talk about Kev, because Kev is another character that is searching for some type of solution, as far as he's dealing with getting old. I love it because he's sitting there playing basketball. Nobody's passing him the ball because he's kind of getting older now. Even though obviously the dude that's playing Kev, he's in shape and whatnot, but he just realizes that he's getting old, and he doesn't really like that. So that's probably something he's gonna have to really deal with this season. Now let's get to the meat and potatoes. Well, before I get to that, I wanted to talk about Frank for a second. Frank has always been my favorite character from Shameless. Like, I always looked at Shameless as it's Frank's story, but we're just seeing it the perspective of his kids. And I always looked at Shameless as the Gallaghers as a whole are just one big main character. So it could just anybody. It could be anybody could be a Fiona, or anybody could be just a Lip. You know what I'm saying? But Frank is going to be very interesting, and he's always unpredictable every season. You know, with Fiona gone, you kind of get a sense of him missing her. You know, that's his firstborn, and William H. Macy did a phenomenal job last season. Like the final words that he spoke to Fiona, and that's the thing about Frank. Regardless of how people may feel about him, like he's an asshole, he's a shitty father, he's always there for his kids, you know, at every moment. You know, that's going to lead into my next thing I want to talk about, which I'm really going to be curious to see how they play out this next character's storyline, because he's had one of the best story arcs so in the show overall, and that's Lip. But before I get to Lip, I want to just say this about Frank. It's going to be interesting to see if he's going to make that shift in his life. Since he lost Monica, now he lost Fiona. Well, not lost Fiona, like Fiona's still alive, but you know, you could tell that he really misses her, and that's going to affect him going forward. And he also is dealing with getting old, and which I feel like the perfect way to end Shameless is to have Frank die. You know, he has dodged death like at least twice. Third time's the charm, right? I will go into that another time, probably in the season finale. But yeah, let's talk about Lip. Now, Lip, it's going to be interesting because him and Tami, they're about to have a kid, and now Lip is going to be stepping into that father role, and it's always been interesting to me, and I think that's going to be very, very interesting to see play out, because it could go either way. Will Lip turn into Frank, or will he want to become a better father than Frank? And I really want to see that play out. You know, so Tami gives birth in this episode, and something's up with Tami. And I love how they show in the previews that we don't really know if she's alive or not, but let's just say hypothetically, if she dies next episode, if we come to find out that Tami has died next episode I should say, how will that affect Lip? Will that make him go back to drinking? Dealing with being just a single father, you know, that's going to be a lot of pressure on him, because it just doesn't look like a lot of people are going to help him, and he's going to have to figure out this fatherhood thing by himself. And you know, I'm just really curious to see what's going to happen with Lip. You know, him by far, I think, is going to be the most interesting part of this whole entire season. You know, we didn't see Ian. We know we're gonna get more of him probably in the next episode or so. He'll probably end up getting out, maybe on parole. Who knows? It's gonna be interesting to see if Mickey gets out also. Probably not, but you know, I find this season to be very fascinating, especially without Fiona, which, yeah, it's kind of sad that she's gone, but like I said, look at it this way: you get to see other characters' storylines get fleshed out, and they could do something different, go in different directions. But you know, what do you guys think about this episode? What do you think about the future of Shameless as a whole? What do you think about the show? Let me know in the comments below, and I'll check y'all out next week for episode 2. Peace.